Hey everyone, this is Scott from the Forgot to Grow podcast. Welcome to another edition of ReWatching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Today I'm going to talk about Season 3, Episode 6, Among Us Hide, ... So I'm just going to start off with the plot summary and then just talking about what my general thoughts about this episode and some foreshadowing Easter egg elements I may have noticed. So let's just start with that plot summary, which says, S.H.I.E.L.D. finds Gardner alive after Strucker fled the scene. Hunter is replaced by Bobby on the ward mission. She and May begin tracking Strucker. Since Daisy and Mac never made it to the ATCU facility, Coulson visits it himself. While Daisy, Mac, and Hunter believe that Price's right-hand man, Luther Banks, may be Lash. They find Banks, knock him out, take some of his blood, and sneak a camera into the facility to which he was headed. As an analysis proves that Banks is not an Inhuman, they realize that they are at the ATCU facility and witness Coulson seeing a captured Inhuman arrive in suspended animation. Price tells Coulson that she wants to cure the Inhumans because she could not help her husband who died of cancer. May and Bobby trace Strucker to the apartment of Gideon Malik, with whom Strucker sought sanctuary. Malik instead turned him over to Hydra in exchange for a future favor. As Bobby fights off the Hydra member, Strucker tells May that Gardner survived his attack because Gardner is Lash. So that's the plot summary. This episode I liked it pretty much. It wasn't one of my favorite ones of the season. It wasn't also one of the worst ones. This had a good balance of action along with just, plot development for the season and different things like that. But yeah, I enjoyed it nonetheless because, well, it's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I always enjoy that stuff. But this one especially had a cool little connection to the MCU with the introduction of Gideon Malik, who had a very brief, very small appearance in the Avengers film. He was one of the people on the World Security Council who was overseeing Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. at the time. And so that connection was really cool. I remember when it was first brought into the show, when I first watched it, when it was premiered on TV, I should say, when this episode did. It was a really cool connection that made, because it was closer to then. It was a few years after Avengers, so it was kind of a cooler connection, a little bit of a deeper dive that you had to really oh snap, you don't really put it together at first, but it's still cool, especially with it being Powers Booth, who's a great actor. But yeah, I really enjoyed that introduction, and I always like those different connections, especially when it's not super in your face. They don't throw it at you, they don't tell you really at all in this episode. So for those people who didn't make the connection, it's just some random Hydra guy. But for some of us other people who pay a little closer attention, it's a little extra fun Easter egg. So I really like that part, and I like that he kind of starts off helping Strucker at first, but then when tables are turning, he goes with the flow and turns Strucker over for a favor. So that's very Hydra of him. His character has a really cool plot over this season, and I'm excited that it's the way it was introduced. But yeah, so some other things I like about this episode. This is when May officially announces that she's back as an agent. She's coming back. She's going after Ward. She teams up with Bobby. Her and Bobby have a little fight, which is always cool. I like when sometimes with a couple of the team members to have a little bit more. I don't want to say a friendly sparring match, because those friendly sparring match, and then there's this, and then there's a real fight, you know what I mean? So it's a little bit more, but it's still fun to see. I like that. And then we see those two teaming up to take on the Hydra team and Strucker, to try and save Strucker. But yeah, I still enjoyed their team up, and it's just always fun to see that, and I just love May. She's great. But what else do I have? May finds out. Oh, and then we find out that Gardner is Lash in this. Well, we already knew, but May finds out, and hence next episode the team finds out. So that's a cool little revelation we get to. I didn't realize it happened so early in the season. This season, a lot of the things in this season happen a lot quicker than I remember it happening. So that's really kind of interesting to realize as I'm rewatching. But yeah, that's all I had for this episode in particular. Be sure to let me know in the comments below if there was anything I missed that you noticed or liked or didn't like. But yeah, that's everything I have for today. Thanks again for joining me. Have a good one.